You guys will never believe what happened. I just turned 18 like 6 days ago, and being an adult is already a total adventure. I'm living in this cozy suburban neighborhood, chasing my dream of becoming a graphic novelist, and my neighbor, Thomas, is this older guy with a retired librarian vibed. Think silver hair, warm eyes, and a voice that could read you to sleep. So this morning, I was feeling super bold, and I did something totally wild. Picture this. I'm tiptoeing into his house with a tray of breakfast, coffee, toast, the works, to surprise him in bed. When he woke up and saw me, his face, pure shock and maybe something more. Want to know how it played out? Keep watching, because this story's all about bold moves and connections that simmer like fresh coffee. Like and subscribe for more. Sarah had just turned 18 6 days ago, and the thrill of her new adulthood felt like a fresh page in her sketchbook, ready for bold lines and vibrant colors. Her small house in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Willow Creek was her creative haven, filled with pencils, comic panels, and the faint scent of lavender from her backyard garden, where she poured her heart into her dream of becoming a graphic novelist. The milestone of her 18th birthday was like a spark igniting her courage, freedom to take risks, chase passions, and make choices that felt daring and new. Her latest comic panel, a figure carrying a tray in a glowing bedroom, reflected her restless energy, its lines sharp and vivid, much like her own life right now. But lately, her thoughts kept drifting to Thomas, her neighbor next door, whose gentle kindness had become a distraction she couldn't shake. At 62, Thomas was a retired librarian with a warmth that had caught her eye since she moved in 5 months ago. His silver hair was neatly combed, his warm brown eyes crinkled with years of recommending books and sharing quiet smiles, and his hands, steady from years of shelving novels, moved with a gentle grace. His morning Sarah, from his porch, paired with a soft smile, made her heart skip. She'd told herself it was nothing, just admiration for a kind older man who'd spent his life curating stories that brought people together. But her just turned 18 confidence fueled a boldness she couldn't suppress. And this morning, that boldness led her to his doorstep. It was early, the calm morning light filtering through Willow Creek's tree-lined streets, the sound of soft footsteps echoing as Sarah carried a tray of breakfast coffee, toast, scrambled eggs, and a small bowl of fruit to Thomas's house. She'd noticed him tending his garden yesterday, his quiet "you're always sketching something new" sparking an idea. Wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans, her hair loose, she slipped through his unlocked front door and neighborly trust he'd mentioned, and tiptoed to his bedroom. The scent of coffee and toast filled the air, her heart pounding with her daring move as she paused in the doorway. Thomas stirred, waking to the aroma, his brown eyes blinking open in surprise as he saw Sarah standing there, tray in hand, her smile warm but teasing. "Morning," she said, her voice gentle but charged. "I just turned 18. Figured it was my turn to do something nice for you." He sat up, his flannel pajamas slightly rumpled, his expression a mix of shock and amusement as she set the tray on his bedside table. "Sarah," he said, his voice a low, warm rumble tinged with disbelief, "you didn't have to do this. What's the occasion?" She grinned, brushing her hair back, her pulse racing with her just turned dainty confidence. "No occasion," she teased, setting the coffee mug down carefully. "You're always looking out for me. ... I'd returned the gesture. The tray's clink against the table broke the quiet, but it didn't cut the tension. Their conversation stayed gentle but charged. Sarah talking about how he'd always been there, lending her books, sharing gardening tips, while Thomas's eyes lingered on her. Every movement deliberate, every glance feeling like a panel in her comic. The soft morning light cast shadows on the walls, the moment simmering with unspoken possibility. "Your trouble," he said, his voice low, his smile warm as he took a sip of coffee. "Just turned 18 and you're sneaking into my house with breakfast." "Good trouble, I hope," she said, her voice soft but daring, her eyes locked on his as she sat on the edge of the bed, the tray between them. "The best kind," he said, his tone teasing but his gaze intense, the moment alive with a spark neither could ignore. The next morning, Sarah woke in her own house, Thomas's smile lingering in her mind, her dreams tangled with the memory of his bedroom, the way his eyes had held hers over the breakfast tray. She shook it off, blaming her impulsiveness, but her thoughts kept drifting to him as she headed to her part-time job at a local cafe. Work was busy, sketching comics during breaks, but every time her phone buzzed, she hoped it was him. Around noon, a text came through. "That breakfast? Still tasting it. Impressive for an 18-year-old troublemaker. Tea." Her heart skipped, and she smiled, typing back, "Just turned 18, so I'm allowed to shake things up, right?" His reply was quick, "You're shaking up plenty. Coffee later? I owe you for the best wake-up call I've had in years." Her pulse raced and she hesitated, her fingers hovering over the keys. She should keep things simple, play it safe, but her just-turned 18 heart was bold, hungry for the spark she'd felt that morning. "You're on. I am at the Café Tio. Bring your best book recommendation." That afternoon, Thomas walked into the cafe, a worn novel tucked under his arm, his grin disarming as he slid into a booth. "Thought I'd bring a story, as requested," he said, passing her the book, his fingers brushing hers, the contact sending a spark up her arm. Sarah took the book, her cheeks flushing as she glanced at the classic novel he'd chosen. "You're spoiling me," she teased, leaning across the table. "First your porch chats, now your books. What's next?" He shrugged, his brown eyes twinkling. "Maybe I'm just trying to keep up with the new 18-year-old next door." You're making waves already." Her heart raced, and they talked, the cafe's home fading as their conversation flowed, her comic sketches, his years running a library, the way their breakfast had shifted something between them. The tension was a constant undercurrent, every shared laugh and glance adding to it. Sarah's mind wandered to the way his bedroom had felt alive that morning, the way his smile had warmed her, and she wondered how far she could push this newfound boldness. "Your trouble," he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his elbow brushing hers on the table. "Just turned 18 and you're already turning my mornings upside down." She grinned, her heart pounding. "Good kind of trouble, I hope." His smile was slow, knowing, a spark of mischief in his eyes. "The best kind." They lingered in the booth, the book open between them, and Sarah found herself opening up more than she'd planned. Her fears about her comics not being good enough, her excitement about being 18, her dreams of seeing her work in print. Thomas listened, his eyes steady, his presence grounding her like a well-loved novel. "You've got something special," he said, his voice sincere, his gaze unwavering. "Your comics, they're bold, like you. Don't let those doubts hold you back. The world needs your stories." Her heart swelled, caught off guard by his encouragement, the warmth in his words wrapping around her like a cozy blanket. "Thanks," she said, her voice soft. "That means a lot." The next day, Sarah's nerves were electric as she prepared for a community bake sale where Thomas was helping organize a book donation table. She'd volunteered to assist, curious about his world, and wore a simple sweater and jeans, her sketchbook tucked into her bag for breaks. When she arrived, Thomas was setting up stacks of novels, his brown eyes lighting up when he saw her. "Glad you made it," he said, handing her a box of books, his fingers grazing hers. "Didn't expect you to be an early bird after yesterday." She grinned, setting her sketchbook down. "Just turned 18. Gotta keep you on your toes." The bake sale was lively, neighbors browsing under colorful tents, Thomas's voice warm and steady as he explained the book donations. Sarah watched him, mesmerized by the way his hands moved, gentle and precise, like an artist with pages instead of pencils. When he helped her arrange a stack, his hand brushing hers, her heart skipped, the contact electric. "You're a natural," he said, his voice low, his eyes catching hers. "Got an artist's touch, even with books." "Thanks," she said, her cheeks flushing, their faces close. "You're not bad at this, though you're terrible at keeping your distance." He laughed, stepping back, his eyes twinkling. "Maybe I don't want to keep my distance." Her breath caught, the air charged with unspoken possibility. "Careful, Thomas," she teased, her heart pounding. "I just turned 18. I might take that personally." His smile was slow, knowing. "Maybe I want you to." The bake sale stretched into the afternoon, and Sarah lingered, helping Thomas clean up. They talked about her comics, his favorite books, the way their neighborhood felt like a story of its own. Every glance, every brush of their hands as they packed up added to the tension. A tightrope she was eager to walk. Over the next few days, Thomas became a constant in Sarah's life, slipping into her routine with an ease that thrilled her. He'd stop by her porch with extra books from his collection, his grin betraying the excuse. They'd text late at night, sharing snippets of their lives, Thomas's stories of running a library, Sarah's dreams of publishing her graphic novel, her sketches taking on a new vibrancy inspired by their connection. Each interaction was laced with flirty tension, a push and pull that left her dizzy. One afternoon, Thomas invited her to the local library to browse its graphic novel section, claiming he needed her eye for a new edition. "Thought you'd like the vibe," he said over the phone, his voice warm, "and I'd like your company." She agreed, her heart fluttering as she chose a dress and sneakers, her sketchbook in her bag for inspiration. The library was quiet, shelves packed with books, the air filled with the scent of paper and dust. Thomas was at her side, his presence steady, his stories of old library patrons making her laugh as they wandered the aisles. They shared a laugh over a quirky comic book, their shoulders brushing as they reached for it, the contact electric. "You're good at this," she said, her voice teasing as they paused at a display of graphic novels, making a library feel like a comic panel. He grinned, picking up a book and flipping through it. "Takes one to know one." "You're not exactly boring, Sarah." She laughed, nudging him playfully. "Just turned 18. Gotta keep things interesting." His eyes twinkled, and he handed her the book to browse, their fingers brushing, the moments stretching as the library faded away, leaving just the two of them. "This one's bold like you," he said, his voice low, his smile warm. Her cheeks flushed and she smiled, her heart racing with her just turned 18 confidence. She wanted to lean closer, to push the boundaries further, but she held back, savoring the spark, the way it made her feel like her comics were coming to life. One evening, Thomas invited her to his house for a late-night book discussion, claiming he needed her opinion on a graphic novel he'd found. Sarah hesitated, her heart racing at the idea of being alone with him again. The memory of their breakfast still vivid, but her curiosity won out. As she stepped into his living room, the scent of books and lavender enveloped her. The space, a cozy mix of vintage furniture and literary charm. "Hey guys," Sarah said, her voice bright but with a playful edge, as if speaking to her imaginary audience, her eyes glinting with mischief. "We're about to get into this spicy portion of the story, so please don't forget to like and subscribe." She grinned, setting her sketchbook on the coffee table, the air already buzzing with anticipation as she turned to Thomas, her heart pounding with her just-turned Dayton confidence. They sat on the couch, a graphic novel between them, and talked her latest comic panels, his favorite stories, the way their breakfast had sparked something new. The room felt alive, the memory of her bold move lingering like the scent of coffee in the air. "Sarah," he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his eyes steady. "I'm not just here for the books or the coffee runs. You know that, right?" Her heart stuttered, her breath catching, the memory of his bedroom flashing in her mind. "I suspected." He reached out, his fingers brushing her wrist. Light, but deliberate, the contact sending a shiver through her. Good, because I'm not good at pretending I don't want something. And I want to know you. Really? Know you. She swallowed, her voice unsteady, her heart pounding with the thrill of her own daring. You're trouble, Thomas. Maybe, he said, his thumb tracing a slow circle on her wrist, the touch sparking something new. But you're not running. Just turned 18, and you're already breaking all the rules. She laughed, a shaky sound, and leaned into the moment. The heat of his touch igniting a fire in her just-turned Anton heart. Maybe I like breaking them, she said, her voice playful but honest, her eyes locked on his. He smiled, his eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and something deeper. Good, because I'm starting to like it too. The following week, Sarah's life felt like a comic panel bursting with color, each moment with Thomas adding new lines to her story. The cafe was busy, but he was a constant distraction, his presence lingering in her thoughts like a half-finished sketch. He'd started leaving notes with his books, small handwritten things tucked into pages. Found a story today that reminded me of you. Too bold for my shelves? Tea? Or bet I can guess your favorite comic by the end of the week. Hint, it's not superheroes. Tea. Each note made her smile, her heart race, her just-turned Dayton confidence growing with every interaction. Her coworker Lily noticed, cornering her at the cafe during a lull. Thomas, huh? She said, her tone teasing but cautious, her eyes narrowing. He's got you all flustered. Be careful, Sarah. I'm just having fun, Sarah said, but the words felt hollow. Her mind replaying the warmth of his bedroom, the spark of his touch. She wasn't sure what she was doing, only that Thomas made her feel alive, like a character stepping into a bold new arc. One night, they met for a quiet evening walk through the neighborhood's garden path. Thomas claiming he needed to clear his head after a long day. Thought you'd like the inspiration, he said, his voice warm. And I'd like your company. She agreed, wearing a jacket and jeans, her hair loose, the garden's soft lights casting a glow as they wandered. The path was quiet, the flowers blooming under moonlight, their scent mingling with the crisp air. Thomas was at her side, his jacket brushing her arm, his stories of old library days making her laugh as they passed a glowing bench. You're good at this, she said, her voice teasing as they paused by a rosebush, making a walk feel like a story. He grinned, his eyes catching the moonlight. Takes one to know one. You're not exactly boring, Sarah. She laughed, nudging him playfully. Just turned 18. Gotta keep things interesting. They stood by the rosebush, their shoulders brushing as they admired it, the tension a constant undercurrent. Sarah's heart raced, her just-turned 18 confidence urging her to lean closer. But she held back, savoring the spark. The way it made her feel like she was living in one of her comics. One night, they met for a late-night coffee run at a 24-hour diner near the neighborhood, the streets quiet around them. The diner was all neon lights and retro booths, the air filled with the scent of fries and coffee. They sat across from each other, sharing a plate of fries, Thomas's presence steady, his stories of quirky library patrons painting vivid pictures in her mind. But the tension was a constant undercurrent, every shared laugh and glance adding to it the memory of their breakfast, lingering like an unfinished sketch. You're different, he said, his voice low, leaning forward, his elbow brushing hers on the table. Just turned 18 and you've got this fire. It's hard to look away. Her cheeks flushed and she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her heart pounding. Good. I don't want you to look away. His laugh was low, warm, his eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and something deeper. Careful what you wish for. They lingered in the diner, the fries growing cold, and Sarah opened up more than she'd planned, her fears about her comics not measuring up, her excitement about being 18, her dreams of seeing her work in print. Thomas listened, his eyes steady, his presence grounding her like a perfectly curated bookshelf. You've got something special, he said, his voice sincere, his gaze unwavering. Your comics, they're bold, like you. Don't let those doubts hold you back. The world needs your stories." Her heart swelled, and she smiled, caught off guard by his encouragement. The warmth in his words wrapping around her like a cozy blanket. "Thanks," she said, her voice soft. "That means a lot." They walked back to the neighborhood, the night air cool, the streets quiet. At her front door, Sarah turned to face him, her keys dangling, her heart pounding. The memory of their breakfast, the bold move that had started this spark, flashed in her mind, and the tension between them felt stronger than ever. "You're making it really hard to keep this neighborly," she said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth, her hazel eyes locked on his. Thomas stepped closer, his hand resting on the doorframe above her, his body close enough to feel his warmth, his presence steady but electric. "Neighborly's overrated," he said, his voice low, rich, carrying the weight of their shared moments. "What do you want, Sarah?" Her mouth went dry, her heart racing with the thrill of her new adulthood. What did she want? Safety, simplicity, the life she knew? Or this him, the thrill, the fire he ignited in her just-turned Dayton heart? "I don't know," she whispered, but her eyes lingered on his lips, betraying her. The memory of their breakfast, a quiet pulse in the back of her mind. He smiled, slow and knowing, his brown eyes warm but intense. "You do, and I'm not going anywhere until you say it." She laughed, a shaky sound, and stepped back into her doorway, clutching her bag like a shield, her heart pounding with the possibilities of her new adulthood. "Good night, Thomas," she said, her voice soft but charged with unspoken promise, the spark between them brighter than the garden lights outside. His laugh was warm, promising, his eyes locked on hers as he leaned back. "Good night, Sarah." But this isn't over. She closed the door, her heart racing, the memory of his bedroom, their breakfast, his touch lingering like a sketch she couldn't erase. As she leaned against the door, she smiled, her just-turned Dayton heart ablaze with the thrill of what might come next. Knowing she was ready to keep pushing the boundaries of her new adulthood, one bold move at a time,